The stars looked different this far out. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Aurora, watching the darkness beyond the viewing screen. His ship had traveled farther than any human vessel in history. They were 3 months past the Kuiper Belt, hunting for signs of anything unusual in the vast emptiness of space. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lisa Martinez from her station. She was the ship's chief engineer, and she rarely got excited about sensor readings. But now her voice carried an edge of tension that made everyone on the bridge look up. Daniel moved to her console. "What kind of strange?" "A signal. It's artificial, no doubt about it, and it's coming from a spot where nothing should exist." Lisa's fingers danced across her controls, bringing up a stream of data. "The pattern repeats every 47 seconds. Someone is broadcasting, Captain." The bridge went silent. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact. Daniel felt his heart racing, but he kept his voice steady. "All hands, this is the captain. We may have found what we've been looking for. Battle stations, but do not power weapons. I repeat, do not power weapons. We're here to make friends, not enemies." The Aurora changed course, moving toward the source of the signal. It took 6 hours of careful navigation before they found it. A ship hung in space ahead of them, and it was like nothing Daniel had ever seen. The vessel seemed to shimmer, its surface covered in patterns that shifted like oil on water. It was beautiful and strange, shaped more like a sculpture than a spacecraft. "They're hailing us," said Claire Bennett, the first officer. Her hand hovered over the communications panel. "Should I answer?" "Open the channel," Daniel said. He straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. The viewing screen flickered, and then they were looking at an alien face. The being was tall and thin, with skin that changed colors as it moved. Its eyes were large and dark, and when it spoke, the words came through as perfect English, translated by some technology Daniel couldn't begin to understand. "Greetings, travelers. I am called Tellin of the Vorlani people. We have been watching your approach with great interest. You are human, yes? From the planet Earth?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes, I'm Captain Daniel Hayes of the United Earth exploration ship Aurora. We come in peace." Talon's skin flashed a warm golden color. "Peace is all we know. We are pleased to meet you at last. Your species has been quite noisy with your radio signals. We have been listening for some time, waiting for you to develop faster than light travel. Now that you have, we extend to you an invitation." "An invitation to what?" Daniel asked. "To join the Galactic Assembly. We are a coalition of 47 spacefaring civilizations who share knowledge, trade, and friendship across the stars. Earth would be the 48th member if you wish it." Lisa leaned close to Daniel and whispered, "Captain, I'm scanning their ship. The hull is barely reinforced. I've seen cargo containers with thicker walls, and I'm detecting no weapon systems at all." Daniel filed that information away but kept his attention on Talon. "This is a tremendous honor, but I don't have the authority to accept on behalf of my entire species. I'll need to contact Earth and arrange for proper diplomats to meet with you." "Of course," Talon said. "We expected as much. There will be a ceremony at our capital station, Unity Sphere. You may bring your finest vessels to display the achievements of your civilization. It is traditional for new members. We look forward to seeing what wonders humanity has created." The conversation continued for another hour, with Talon explaining the basics of the Galactic Assembly. When the communication finally ended, the bridge crew erupted into excited chatter. They had done it. They had made first contact and the aliens were friendly, but Daniel couldn't shake a strange feeling. He pulled Lisa aside. "You said their ship has no weapons?" "None that I can detect. It's fast and the power systems are impressive, but it's not built for combat. It's built for, well, I'd say it's built for comfort and efficiency." "Strange," Daniel muttered. "Why would anyone travel through space without any defenses?" Lisa shrugged. "Maybe they've never needed them." "Captain, think about it. If the entire galaxy is peaceful, why would you need weapons?" The thought was unsettling in a way Daniel couldn't quite explain. Humanity had never known a world without conflict. Even now, with Earth united under one government, there were still disputes and tensions. The idea of a galaxy where everyone simply got along seemed too good to be true. Back on Earth, the news of first contact sent shockwaves around the world. Within days, Ambassador Gregory Palmer was selected to lead the diplomatic mission. He was a veteran negotiator, calm and professional with decades of experience in international relations. Palmer arrived at Earth's orbital station where the military kept its fleet. He was escorted to a meeting room where Fleet Admiral Kevin Ross waited with several other high-ranking officers. "Ambassador Palmer," Ross said, shaking his hand. "Thank you for coming. We need to discuss what ships we're sending to this ceremony." Palmer sat down and accepted a cup of coffee. "I've read Captain Hayes's report. The aliens seem genuine in their welcome. I think we should send our newest exploration vessels. Something that shows we're advanced but not aggressive." Ross frowned. "With respect, Ambassador, I disagree. They asked for our finest vessels. We should send what we actually have, not what we wish we had." "Which is what exactly?" Palmer asked. Ross pulled up a holographic display. A massive ship appeared, rotating slowly in the air above the table. "The U.S. Defiant. She's our newest battlecruiser, 3 kilometers long, crew of 800. She's got armor that can withstand a nuclear blast and enough firepower to level a city." Palmer felt his stomach sink. "Admiral, we can't send a warship to a peace ceremony." "What kind of message does that send?" "It sends the message that humanity is strong and capable," Ross replied. "Ambassador, these aliens have never seen conflict. They don't understand what it takes to survive in a hostile universe. If we show up with pleasure cruises, they'll think we're weak. Or they'll think we're peaceful," Palmer countered. The argument went on for hours. Finally, a compromise was reached. They would send the Defiant, but they would also send Ambassador Palmer to explain that the ship represented human engineering, not human aggression. The ship would be accompanied by 2 destroyers, the UES Valiant and the UES Guardian. Captain Jason Miller was called in to command the Defiant for the mission. He was a career military officer, respected by his crew and known for his level head under pressure. When he was briefed on the mission, he listened carefully and then asked the question everyone was thinking. "Do we know anything about these aliens beyond what Captain Hayes reported?" "Not much," Ross admitted. "But what we do know is concerning. Their ships are fast but fragile. They have no weapons. They seem to think the entire galaxy is safe and friendly." Jason nodded slowly. "And we're about to show up in a ship designed to fight off an invasion fleet. This could go very badly, Admiral." "I know," Ross said. "That's why I'm sending you. Keep the crew sharp, but keep them diplomatic. We're walking a tightrope here, Captain." As Jason left the meeting, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was about to make either the best impression possible or the worst mistake in history. The Defiant was powerful, yes, but she was also beautiful in her own way. Every rivet and armor plate represented human determination to survive against all odds. The question was whether the aliens would see that determination as admirable or terrifying. 3 weeks later, the Defiant and her escorts departed Earth orbit. The crew was nervous but excited. They were about to represent all of humanity to an entire galaxy of civilizations. As the ships engaged their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the depths of space, people on Earth watched and wondered what would happen next. Daniel Hayes, back on Earth after his successful mission, watched the news coverage. He thought about Tellan and the shimmering Vorlani ship with its paper-thin hull. He thought about the Defiant, a fortress in space. And he wondered if humanity was ready for a galaxy that had never known war. Only time would tell if the meeting between these 2 very different cultures would end in friendship or disaster. The journey to Unity Sphere took 3 weeks at faster-than-light speeds. Captain Jason Miller spent most of that time trying to understand the aliens they were about to meet. The communications from the Vorlani kept coming in, and each one made him more confused. "Captain, you need to hear this," said Amy Chen from the communication station. She played back the latest message from Tellan. "Greetings, human friends. We are sending assistance ships to help guide your cargo vessels to Unity Sphere. We understand that industrial ships can be difficult to navigate in crowded space. Please do not be embarrassed. Many species use their freight haulers for ceremonial purposes." Jason stared at the speaker. Did he just call the Defiant a cargo hauler? Lieutenant Peter Gray, the weapons officer, laughed from his station. "Sir, I think they have no idea what they're looking at. They see our ship and think we're moving furniture." "That's because they've never seen a warship," Jason said quietly. "To them, any big ship must be for carrying cargo. The concept of a vessel designed for combat probably doesn't even exist in their language." Amy pulled up the translation logs. "Captain, you might be right. I've been analyzing their vocabulary. They have words for conflict and disagreement, but nothing that translates directly to war or battle. The closest they get is serious discussion." Jason felt a chill run down his spine. These aliens were innocent in a way humanity had never been. Earth's history was written in blood, war after war, each one teaching hard lessons about survival. But the Vorlani and their friends in the Galactic Assembly had apparently skipped all of that. "Keep monitoring their communications," Jason ordered. "I want to know everything we can about these people before we arrive." Down in engineering, Lisa Martinez was having her own moment of realization. She had been comparing the Defiant specifications with the data they had on Vorlani ships. The numbers were shocking. "Helen, look at this," she said to Science Officer Helen Foster. She pulled up a comparison chart. "The Vorlani ship that Captain Hayes met has a hull thickness of 3 centimeters. 3. The Defiant's armor is 2 meters thick in some places." Helen adjusted her glasses and studied the data. "That's not all. Look at their power output. Their entire ship produces less energy than one of our railgun capacitors. They couldn't damage our hull if they tried." "I don't think trying is something they'd ever consider," Lisa said. "I've been reading the cultural files. These species have been in space for thousands of years, and they've had exactly 3 conflicts. 3. All of them were resolved through talking." "No wars at all?" Helen asked, disbelief clear in her voice. "None. No arms races, no territorial disputes, no religious conflicts. They explore, they trade, they share knowledge. That's it." Helen sat back in her chair. "We're going to terrify them, aren't we?" "Probably," Lisa admitted. The crew continued their routines as they traveled. Peter Gray ran weapons drills every day, making sure his teams could operate at peak efficiency. The railguns were test-fired into empty space, their magnetic accelerators hurling projectiles at a fraction of the speed of light. The missile batteries were checked and rechecked. Every system was pushed to its limits and beyond. The Vorlani scouts monitoring the human fleet's progress watched these drills with growing alarm. They sent panicked messages back to Unity Sphere, reporting that the human ships appeared to be malfunctioning. The massive energy discharges they were seeing could only be dangerous accidents, they thought. No species would deliberately create such destructive forces. When the Vorlani offered to send repair ships, Jason had to politely decline. "We appreciate your concern, but our vessels are functioning normally. What you're observing are standard training exercises." There was a long pause before Tellen responded. "Training for what purpose, Captain Miller?" Jason chose his words carefully. "For any emergency that might arise. It's standard procedure for all our ships." Another pause. "I see. We look forward to learning more about your fascinating safety protocols." Jason ended the communication and rubbed his temples. This was going to be complicated. Sam Torres, the civilian representative assigned to the mission, spent his time reviewing diplomatic protocols. He was a professional negotiator, skilled at finding common ground between different groups. But nothing in his training had prepared him for this. "Captain, can I speak with you privately?" Sam asked one evening. They met in Jason's ready room, a small office adjacent to the bridge. Sam looked worried. "I've been thinking about how the aliens will react when they see our ships up close," Sam said. "Captain, we look like invaders. The Defiant is covered in weapons. Every line of this ship screams military power. How do we explain that we're peaceful when we're showing up in what amounts to a mobile fortress?" Jason poured them both coffee. "We tell them the truth. These ships exist because humanity's history required them. We didn't have the luxury of a peaceful galaxy. We had to fight to survive, fight to unite, fight to reach the stars. And if they reject us because of it?" Sam asked. "Then we'll deal with that when it happens," Jason replied.
"But I won't apologize for human strength."
"Our ancestors built these ships for good reasons. Those reasons might not apply to the Galactic Assembly, but they're still valid." As they approached Unity Sphere, the crew got their first look at the station. It appeared on their screens like something from a dream. The structure was enormous, easily 100 kilometers across, made of materials that seemed to shift and glow with their own light. Ships of every imaginable design floated around it, each one unique and beautiful. "My God," whispered Kate Russell, the navigation officer. "It looks like someone built a cathedral in space." The alien vessels were works of art. Some appeared to be made of crystal, others seemed almost organic, growing and flowing rather than constructed. There were ships that looked like flowers, ships that resembled geometric sculptures, and ships that defied any easy description. And then there was the Defiant, angular, armored, studded with weapons emplacements and sensor arrays. Next to the alien ships, she looked brutal and primitive, but she also looked solid, real and undeniably powerful. "We're receiving docking instructions," Amy reported. "They're assigning us a berth in the outer ring." "The outer ring?" Jason asked. "Yes, sir. Away from most of the other ships." Amy's voice was tight. "I think they're afraid of us." The Defiant and her escorts moved slowly into position. As they did, Jason watched the sensor displays. Dozens of alien ships were repositioning, moving away from the human vessels. It wasn't panic, but it was definitely caution. "They're treating us like we're dangerous," Peter observed. "We are dangerous," Jason said quietly. "That's what they're beginning to understand." Ambassador Palmer had joined them on the bridge. He looked pale as he watched the alien ships keeping their distance. "This isn't how first contact is supposed to go. We should be celebrating, exchanging greetings. Instead, they're running away from us." "They're not running," Jason corrected. "They're being careful. There's a difference." A message came through from Tellen. The Vorlani's skin color on the screen had shifted to a pale, nervous blue. "Captain Miller, Ambassador Palmer, welcome to Unity Sphere. We have prepared quarters for you and your crew. The Grand Convergence ceremony will take place in 2 days. This will give you time to rest and to prepare your vessels for display." "Display?" Palmer asked. "Yes. It is traditional for new species to present their finest ships for all to see. You will position your vessels in the Gallery of Stars, where representatives from all 47 member species can observe them. It is a great honor." After the communication ended, Palmer turned to Jason. "They want to put us on display, like exhibits in a museum." "Then we'll be the best exhibit they've ever seen," Jason said. "Get the crew ready. Full dress uniforms. I want the Defiant polished until she shines. If they're going to look at us, let's give them something worth looking at." Over the next 2 days, the human crew prepared. The ships were cleaned and inspected. Every crew member practiced their duties until they could perform them perfectly. Sam Torres worked with the diplomatic team to prepare speeches and responses to likely questions, but beneath all the preparation, there was a growing sense of unease. The aliens were friendly but distant. They sent polite messages but didn't visit the human ships. It was as if they were waiting for something, studying the humans from a safe distance. Helen Foster spent hours analyzing the cultural data they were receiving. She made a discovery that she immediately brought to Captain Miller. "Sir, I've been studying the history of the Galactic Assembly. In 10,000 years, they've had 3 conflicts. I wanted to know what those conflicts were about." "And?" Jason prompted. "One was about fishing rights in a shared ocean. One was about who had the right to name a newly discovered star. And one was about a miscommunication regarding a trade agreement." Helen paused. "Captain, these species don't understand violence. They've never faced an existential threat. They've never had to fight for survival. War to them is literally incomprehensible." Jason absorbed this information. "So when they see our ships tomorrow, they're going to see weapons they can't imagine using. Defenses against threats they've never faced. They're going to see us as either paranoid or aggressive, maybe both. Then we'll have to teach them," Jason said. The Grand Hall of Unity Sphere was unlike anything the human delegation had ever seen. The walls seemed to dissolve into space itself, creating the illusion that everyone was floating among the stars. Thousands of aliens filled the vast chamber, representing 47 different species from across the galaxy. Ambassador Palmer walked through the crowd with Captain Miller and several senior officers beside him. Every species they passed stopped to stare. Some whispered to each other. Others simply watched in silence, their alien features unreadable. "I feel like an animal in a zoo," muttered Lieutenant Peter Gray. "Stay professional," Jason replied quietly. "We represent all of humanity here." They were dressed in their formal uniforms, dark blue with gold trim. Compared to the flowing robes and glowing garments of the aliens around them, the military uniforms looked stark and severe, but they were clean and sharp and the humans wore them with pride. A group of Korthi approached them. The aliens looked like upright walking frogs, with moist skin that glistened under the hall's strange light. One of them spoke through a translation device. "You are the humans, the warriors." Palmer smiled and extended his hand, though he wasn't sure if the gesture would be understood. "We prefer to think of ourselves as explorers and diplomats. I'm Ambassador Gregory Palmer." The Korthi ignored the offered hand. "Your uniforms suggest military purpose. Your bearing suggests combat training. Why do you bring soldiers to a ceremony of peace? The question hung in the air. Jason stepped forward. We're all soldiers, yes, but we're also scientists, engineers, and diplomats. Humanity doesn't separate these roles the way you might. Every person on our ship serves multiple purposes. The Korthi made a gurgling sound that the translator rendered as skeptical acknowledgement. They moved away, still watching the humans with wary eyes. That went well, Sam Torres said sarcastically. He had joined the delegation specifically for moments like this, but his skills at finding common ground were being tested like never before. More aliens approached throughout the next hour. BDQ, Selnari, beings of pure energy contained in crystalline shells, seemed fascinated by human physical form. They asked detailed questions about muscle structure and bone density. The Mytharians, insect-like philosophers, wanted to know about human thought processes and decision-making. But beneath all the curiosity, there was an undercurrent of tension. The aliens were polite but distant. They asked questions but kept their physical distance. It was as if they were studying something dangerous from what they considered a safe range. Finally, the ceremony began. Tellan, the Vorlani High Speaker, floated to the center of the hall on some kind of anti-gravity platform. His skin shifted through a rainbow of colors as he spoke. Welcome, friends from across the stars. Today we celebrate the arrival of a new species to our assembly. The humans of Earth have reached out to us, and we embrace them as we have embraced all who seek knowledge and peace. Talon's speech continued, full of flowery language about unity and cooperation. The assembled aliens responded with sounds of approval, translated into various languages by the universal systems. Then Talon turned to the humans. And now we invite our newest friends to present their vessels, that we might marvel at the achievements of their civilization. The walls of the grand hall shifted, becoming display screens. The images showed the gallery of stars, a massive open space where the human ships waited. The Defiant appeared first, her hull gleaming under the station's lights. The reaction was immediate and visceral. Gasps and alarmed sounds filled the hall. The Defiant dominated the screen, 3 kilometers of armored hull bristling with weapon systems. Her railguns were clearly visible, as were the missile tubes and the point defense systems that covered her surface. Next came the destroyers, smaller but no less intimidating. The Valiant and Guardian flanked the Defiant like loyal guards, their own weapons ready and their armor thick enough to survive direct hits from nuclear weapons. Talon's skin had gone pale, almost white. He spoke, and his voice trembled slightly. These are your ceremonial vessels? Your displays of cultural achievement? Palmer stepped forward, his heart sinking. High Speaker, these are our standard military vessels. They represent the best of human engineering and our commitment to protecting what we value. Military vessels, repeated a Mytharian in the crowd. The word was spoken like a curse. You have brought weapons of war to a ceremony of peace? Jason moved to stand beside Palmer. These ships are powerful, yes, but power and aggression are not the same thing. We've brought them because they're our finest work, not because we intend to use them against anyone. A Brexian representative, a being that looked like it was made of living crystal, spoke up. In 10,000 years of the Galactic Assembly, no species has brought warships to first contact. Most species don't even have warships. Why do you? The question silenced the hall. Every alien eye turned to the human delegation, waiting for an answer. Palmer took a deep breath. He had prepared for this moment, but the reality was more intense than he'd imagined, because our history required it. Earth is not like your worlds. We evolved in competition with predators, with nature, and with each other. We built weapons because without them, we would not have survived. You fought each other? Asked a Selnari, its crystalline form pulsing with confusion. Your own species? Yes, Palmer said simply. For thousands of years, human tribes, nations, and cultures fought over territory, resources, and beliefs. We had wars that killed millions. We created weapons that could destroy our entire planet. Horror rippled through the crowd. Aliens drew back. their various forms expressing shock and disgust in ways the translation system struggled to convey. But we learned, Palmer continued, raising his voice. We learned that peace was better than war. We learned to cooperate, to build alliances, to solve problems through discussion instead of violence. It took us a long time, and the cost was terrible. But we learned. Earth is united now. We have one government, one purpose. We come to you seeking friendship, not conflict. Akorth the Elder stepped forward, his aged features troubled. If you have learned peace, why do you still build such terrible weapons? Why bring them here? Jason answered this time. Because learning peace doesn't mean forgetting how to defend yourself. Our ships are powerful because we know what it's like to be vulnerable. We know what it's like to face threats that want to destroy everything you love. These ships exist so that we never have to face those threats unprepared again. What threats? Demanded the Mytharian. The galaxy is at peace. We have explored for millennia and found only friends. What are you preparing to fight? Anything that would threaten peace, Jason said firmly. We hope we never need these weapons. But hope isn't a strategy. Preparation is. The Brexian representative's crystalline body flashed with angry light. This is unacceptable. You bring instruments of death to a gathering of life. You speak of threats that don't exist. I call for an emergency council session. The Assembly must debate whether these humans should be admitted at all. Murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd. Talon raised his hands, calling for calm. Please, let us not make hasty decisions. The humans have traveled far to meet us. Surely we can discuss this rationally. But the damage was done. The ceremony dissolved into chaos as different species argued among themselves. Some thought humanity should be rejected immediately. Others wanted to understand more before making a decision. A few, very few, seemed intrigued rather than frightened. The human delegation was escorted to a waiting area while the aliens debated their fate. The room was comfortable but clearly designed to keep them separate from the main assembly. That could have gone better, Sam said, slumping into a chair. We told them the truth, Palmer replied. What else could we do? Helen Foster had been taking notes throughout the ceremony. She looked up from her tablet. Did you see their reactions? It wasn't just fear. Some of them looked confused, like they couldn't process the concept of what we were describing. Because they can't, Lisa Martinez said. She had been studying the alien technology displays while everyone else focused on the politics. I've been looking at their history. These species have lived in paradise for thousands of years. They've never faced real danger. They explore, find resources, make friends. Every species they've met has been peaceful. They think that's how the universe works. And we just showed them it doesn't, Jason said quietly. Peter Gray was pacing near the window, looking out at the Defiant. Maybe we shouldn't have come. Maybe we should have built new ships, pretty ones that looked like theirs. We could have hidden what we really are. No, Jason said firmly. That would have been a lie. If we're going to join this assembly, they need to know who we are. All of who we are, not just the parts that make them comfortable. Hours passed. The humans waited, uncertain of their fate. Finally, Talon entered the room, accompanied by several other alien representatives. His skin was a dark, troubled blue. The council has convened, he said. They wish to speak with you. There are many questions about your species and your history. Some of the questions may be difficult. Palmer stood. We're ready to answer anything they ask. There is something else, Talon continued. I must ask you directly, and I need an honest answer. Your ships, those weapons, that armor. The council chamber was smaller than the grand hall, but no less impressive. 47 seats arranged in a circle, each one occupied by a representative of a different species. In the center stood a platform where the humans would present their case. Ambassador Palmer led the way, followed by Captain Miller and the rest of the delegation. As they took their positions on the platform, Palmer could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching them. The weight of the moment pressed down on his shoulders. The Brexian counselor spoke first, its crystalline body pulsing with light. Humans of Earth, we have called this emergency session to discuss your admission to the Galactic Assembly. What we have seen troubles us greatly. Your vessels are designed for destruction. Your history is filled with violence. We must know if you pose a danger to the peace we have maintained for millennia." Palmer stepped forward. "Counselor, I understand your concerns. Our history is violent, yes, but that history has taught us the value of peace. We didn't learn cooperation because it was easy. We learned it because the alternative nearly destroyed us." "Tell us about your wars," said the Korthi elder. "Make us understand why your species fought itself for so long." Palmer looked at Jason, who nodded. They had discussed this possibility. If the aliens wanted to know the truth, they would give it to them, no matter how ugly it was. "Our wars began over territory," Palmer said. "Early human tribes needed land to hunt and gather food. When two tribes wanted the same land, they fought. As we grew more advanced, we fought over resources like water, metals, and energy. We fought over religious beliefs, over political systems, over which group had the right to control others." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "We had wars that lasted decades. We had wars that killed tens of millions of people. We developed weapons that could level cities in seconds. At one point in our history, we had enough nuclear weapons to destroy all life on Earth many times over." Gasps and sounds of horror filled the chamber. A Selnari representative's crystalline form darkened. "Why would you create such terrible things?" "Because we were afraid," Palmer admitted. "Each nation feared that if they didn't have the strongest weapons, their enemies would destroy them. It was a cycle of fear and escalation that nearly ended our species." "So what changed?" asked a Mytharian. "How did you stop?" Science Officer Helen Foster stepped forward. "We nearly destroyed ourselves, and that finally forced us to change. In the year 2077, a nuclear exchange between two nations killed over 50 million people in a single day. The world realized that if we continued on that path, there would be no tomorrow. So we began to talk instead of fight. It took decades, but eventually, Earth united under a single government." The Vorlani High Speaker Tellen leaned forward. "And your weapons? If you learned peace, why do you still build such powerful ships?" Captain Miller took this question. "Because peace is a choice, not a guarantee. We built the Defiant and ships like her to ensure that we could protect that choice. We've learned that you can't maintain peace from a position of weakness. You have to be strong enough that no one would dare attack you, and wise enough not to attack others." "But who would attack you?" demanded the Brexian. "The galaxy is peaceful. We have explored for thousands of years without finding a hostile species. Your weapons are unnecessary." "You've been lucky," Jason said bluntly. "You've explored the safe parts of the galaxy and found friends. But the universe is vast. You can't know what's out there beyond the regions you've mapped. You can't guarantee that every species in the galaxy is peaceful." "He's right," said a quiet voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was a Thendari, a species the humans hadn't met yet. The alien looked almost plant-like, with bark-like skin and leaves growing from its head. "Our people have ancient legends of darkness in the outer regions. We have never investigated because we feared what we might find. Perhaps the humans are wise to be prepared." "Legends," scoffed the Brexian. "You would justify weapons of war based on stories?" "No," Jason said. "We justify them based on reality. Our reality taught us that threats exist. Maybe you've never faced them, but that doesn't mean they're not out there." The debate continued for hours. Different species voiced their concerns and questions. Some were angry, others afraid, and a few genuinely curious. Palmer and his team answered every question as honestly as they could. Finally, the Korthi elder raised his hand for silence. "I have been thinking about what the humans have said. We have been fortunate, yes. We have known peace because we have faced no threats. But perhaps peace exists not because conflict is impossible, but because we have been lucky. What happens when that luck runs out?" The chamber fell silent. It was clear that many of the counselors had never considered this possibility. The Selnari representative spoke, its voice like chimes. "In all our existence, we have assumed the universe was fundamentally peaceful. We explored and found friends. But what if we were simply exploring the safe regions? What if there are dangers we have never confronted because we lacked the ability to face them?" Jason saw his opening. "That's exactly our concern. We're not trying to frighten you. We're offering you a different perspective. We faced darkness and survived. We've fought and learned to make peace. Our ships are powerful because we know what it means to lose everything. Maybe that experience has value to the assembly." The Mytharian counselor tilted its insect-like head. "You offer your strength to protect us? But how do we know you won't use that strength against us?" Because we're choosing not to, Palmer said simply. Right now, this moment, we could leave Unity Sphere and do whatever we wanted. We're stronger than any species here, but we're not leaving. We're standing here asking to join you because we want peace. That choice, that decision to use our power to protect rather than conquer, that's what defines us. Words, the Brexian said dismissively. How do we trust words? Sam Torres stepped forward. He had been quiet until now, but his skills as a negotiator told him this was his moment. You don't trust our words. You trust our actions. Send representatives to Earth, see our world. Talk to our people. You'll find a species that fought itself to the edge of extinction and chose to step back. You'll find a planet united by choice, not force. You'll find people who want to explore the stars and make friends, even though our history tells us the universe can be dangerous. The Brexian was about to respond when alarms began to sound. The council chamber's displays flickered, showing urgent messages from the outer sensors. Tellin stood quickly, his skin flashing through colors that suggested panic. What's happening? A Vorlani technician's voice came through the speakers. Hi, speaker. We're detecting an anomaly at the edge of the Valos sector. Our exploration ship sent a distress call before communications went silent. Now we're detecting strange energy readings spreading through the region. What kind of anomaly? Jason asked, his military training taking over. The technician pulled up sensor data on the displays. What they saw made several aliens gasp. A section of space was going dark. Stars were winking out one by one, replaced by an expanding void of nothingness. It's moving, Helen said, studying the data with practiced eyes. Whatever it is, it's expanding at roughly 1 light-year per day. At that rate, it will reach populated systems within a month. Send more ships to investigate, the Brexian ordered. With respect, Counselor, Jason said carefully, that might not be wise. You've lost 1 ship already. You need to know what you're dealing with before you send more. And you have experience with such things? The Brexian asked sarcastically. We have experience with threats, Jason replied evenly. We have ships designed to survive hostile situations. We have weapons that can defend against unknown dangers. And we have crews trained to face the unexpected. Let us help. Talon looked at the expanding void on the displays, then at the human delegation, then back at the void. His skin shifted through several colors before settling on a determined orange. The council was debating whether to admit humanity to the assembly. Talon said slowly. It seems the universe has decided to test us all. Captain Miller, would your ships be willing to investigate this anomaly? Absolutely, Jason said without hesitation. The Defiant is ready to depart within the hour, Palmer added. But we'd like to bring some of your ships with us. If we're going to face this together, we should start working together now. The Brexian counselor started to object, but the Selnari representative cut in. The human offers wisdom. We must learn from their experience if we are to face this threat. I volunteer to send a Selnari science vessel to join the mission. The Korti will send a ship as well, the elder said. Perhaps it is time we learned what lies beyond our comfortable borders. 1 by 1, species volunteered ships to join the mission. Even the reluctant Brexian eventually agreed to send a vessel. In less than an hour, a fleet was assembled, the human warship surrounded by alien science vessels, each one bringing different capabilities to the mission. As the council session ended and the delegations prepared to depart, Talon approached Palmer privately. Ambassador, I must be honest with you. Many of us are still afraid of your ships and what they represent, but fear and need sometimes walk together. We need your strength now, whether we like admitting it or not. The journey to the Valos sector took 4 days at maximum faster than light speed. During that time, the mixed fleet learned to work together, and it was harder than anyone expected. Captain Jason Miller stood on the bridge of the Defiant, coordinating with the 6 alien vessels that had joined the mission. Each ship had different capabilities, different communication protocols, and different ideas about how to approach an unknown threat. The Selnari ship wants to get within 1 light year of the anomaly to take readings, reported Amy Chen from Communications. They say their sensors need to be that close to gather useful data. Tell them absolutely not, Jason replied. We're stopping at 5 light years out, setting up a perimeter and sending probes first. No ships approach until we know what we're dealing with. Amy relayed the message. There was a pause before the Selnari responded. Captain Miller, they're saying that your caution is excessive. They've been exploring space for 3,000 years without incident. And they've lost ships to this anomaly already, Jason countered. We do this smart or we don't do it at all. The Selnari eventually agreed, but Jason could sense their frustration. These aliens weren't used to taking orders, especially from a species they saw as primitive and violent. Down in engineering, Lisa Martinez was having similar struggles. She had been trying to coordinate shield frequencies with the alien vessels. But their technology was so different from human designs that finding common ground was nearly impossible. Their shields are designed to protect against radiation and micro-impacts, Lisa explained to Helen Foster. They've never had to worry about incoming weapons fire. If something attacks us, their shields won't do much good. Can we enhance them somehow? Helen asked. I'm working on it, but it's like trying to turn a raincoat into body armor. The fundamental design is wrong for combat situations. Helen looked at the data streaming from the alien ships. They're not built for war because they've never needed to be. Their entire civilization is built on the assumption of safety. That assumption is about to be tested, Lisa said grimly. Lieutenant Peter Gray spent his time studying the sensor readings of the anomaly. What he found was deeply unsettling. Captain, you need to see this, Peter said, pulling up his analysis on the main display.
The anomaly isn't just blocking light.
It's actually erasing space. The stars aren't hidden, they're gone. Whatever this thing is, it's consuming everything it touches. Jason studied the readings. How is that possible? I don't know, sir. But if it keeps expanding at the current rate, it will reach the first inhabited systems in 23 days. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. This wasn't just a scientific curiosity. It was an extinction-level threat to the entire galactic assembly. Send this data to all ships in the fleet, Jason ordered. Everyone needs to understand what we're up against. As the fleet approached the 5-light-year marker, they began to see the anomaly with their own eyes. The viewing screen showed a section of space that was simply empty. Not dark, not black, but absent. It was as if reality itself had been erased, leaving nothing behind. Talon's voice came through on the fleet-wide channel. His skin color on the video feed was a pale, sickly green. By the stars, I have never seen anything like this. Has anyone in the assembly encountered anything similar? Jason asked. Never, Talon replied. We have records going back 10,000 years. Nothing like this has ever been reported. The Korthi Elder's voice joined the conversation. Perhaps this is why the humans build such powerful ships. Perhaps their violent history taught them that the universe holds dangers we have been fortunate to avoid. Until now, added the Metherian representative. Jason gave orders to deploy probe drones. The Defiant launched a dozen small craft that would fly closer to the anomaly and gather detailed sensor readings. The alien ships contributed their own probes, each one equipped with different scientific instruments. For 2 hours, they watched and waited as the probes approached the expanding void. The data they sent back was confusing and contradictory. The anomaly seemed to exist outside normal physics, operating by rules that didn't make sense. Then, without warning, the probes went silent. One by one, they simply stopped transmitting. The fleet watched in horror as the anomaly suddenly accelerated, expanding outward at 10 times its previous speed. All ships, emergency retreat, Jason shouted. Get back now. The Defiant's engines roared to life, pushing the massive ship backward. The destroyers, Valiant and Guardian, followed close behind. But the alien ships were slower to respond. They weren't used to emergency maneuvers or rapid threat response. The Selnari ship isn't moving fast enough, Amy reported, panic in her voice. Captain, they're going to get caught. Jason made a split-second decision. Navigation put us between the Selnari ship and the anomaly. Buy them time to retreat. Sir, that will put us in direct contact with the edge of the anomaly, warned Kate Russell. I know. Do it anyway. The Defiant turned and accelerated, her massive bulk moving with surprising speed. The ship positioned itself like a shield between the alien vessel and the expanding void. The crew braced for impact, not knowing what would happen when the anomaly reached them. The edge of the void touched the Defiant's forward shields. Alarms screamed across every station. The ship shuddered as reality itself seemed to push against them. Shields at 70%, Lisa called from engineering. 60%, 50. Captain, we can't hold this for long. We don't need long, Jason said, watching his displays. The Selnari ship is clear. All ships, full retreat, maximum speed. The Defiant pulled away from the anomaly just as her shields reached critical levels. The ship's armor had scorch marks where the void had touched it, but they had survived. Once the fleet had retreated to a safe distance, Talon's message came through. The Vorlani's voice was shaking. "Captain Miller, you saved the Selnari ship. You put yourself in danger to protect them." "That's what the Defiant was built for," Jason replied. "To stand between threats and those who need protection." The Selnari representative's crystalline form pulsed with light as they spoke. "We doubted you, human. We feared your weapons and your history of violence. But you used your strength to save us, not to hurt us. I begin to understand what you tried to tell us at Unity Sphere." "We tried to explain this," Ambassador Palmer said gently. "Power isn't good or evil. It's neutral. What matters is how you choose to use it." Over the next several hours, the fleet analyzed the data they had gathered. Helen Foster worked with scientists from each alien species, pooling their knowledge to understand the threat. "It's definitely artificial," Helen announced during a fleet-wide conference. "The anomaly is too precise, too controlled to be natural. Someone or something created this. Created it for what purpose?" asked the Brexian representative. "That's what we need to find out," Helen replied. "But I have a theory. The anomaly stops expanding after it consumes a certain amount of space. It's like it's feeding, reaching a satiation point and then pausing before starting again." "Can we stop it?" Talon asked. Helen hesitated. "Maybe. If we can disrupt the process, we might be able to collapse it, but it would require a massive amount of focused energy delivered at precisely the right moment." Jason already knew what she was suggesting. The Defiant's main railgun could deliver that kind of energy. "It's risky," Helen warned. "We'd need to get close, and if the timing is wrong, we could make things worse. Or we could do nothing and watch it consume the galaxy," Jason said. "That's not acceptable. We'll make the attempt." The plan was simple but dangerous. The Defiant would approach the anomaly during its feeding pause. The alien ships would use their advanced sensors to find the exact center point where the energy was most concentrated. Then the Defiant would fire her main railgun at that point with everything she had. If this works, the energy discharge should cascade through the anomaly's structure and cause it to collapse, Helen explained. If it doesn't work, well, we'll be too close to escape. The fleet moved into position over the next 6 hours. The alien ships formed a sensor network, their delicate instruments working in concert to map the anomaly's structure. The Defiant positioned herself at the precise firing point, her massive railgun charging to maximum power. "All ships report ready," Amy announced. Jason looked around his bridge. His crew was calm and professional, ready to risk everything because it was the right thing to do. "Power to full charge. Target coordinates locked in." "Captain," Talon's voice came through. "If this fails, I want you to know that the Assembly was wrong about humanity. Your species has shown us courage and sacrifice we didn't know existed. Whatever happens, we are grateful. Let's make sure we all survive to continue that friendship," Jason replied. Firing in 10 seconds, the countdown began. The Defiant's railgun hummed with contained energy, ready to unleash enough force to shatter a moon. The alien ships held position, their sensors feeding targeting data to the human vessel. 3, 2, 1, fire. The railgun discharged with a flash of light that lit up the entire sector. A projectile accelerated to a fraction of light speed, shot across the distance, and struck the heart of the anomaly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the void began to collapse. Like a bubble popping in reverse, the anomaly folded in on itself, shrinking rapidly.